Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. And happy vlogoween day 3. Today we are doing Halloween history. We got Mr. Bones. He's in my lap. Figured this is like the best spot for him. Literally. His jaw is closing all by itself. Anyhow, so we're doing some Halloween history today. So let's start off with, what is Halloween? Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on October 30th, 1st, and Halloween 2024 will occur on Thursday, October 31st. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people would light fires, wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all saints. Soon, All Saints' Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before was known as All Hallows' Eve, and later Halloween. Over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating treats. Alright, the ancient history of Halloween, more into this Celtic festival. Halloween's origin dates back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celts, who lived 2,000 years ago, wow, that's a long time ago, mostly in the area that is now Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France, celebrated their new year on November 1st. The day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain, when it was believed that the ghost of the dead returned to earth. In addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, Celts thought that the presence of the old otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids or Celtic priests to make predictions about the future. For a people entirely dependent on the vital natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. Mr. Bones, look at the camera. To commemorate the event, Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes typically consisting of animals' heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires, which had extinguished earlier that evening, from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the coming winter. By AD 43, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of the Celtic territory. In the course of the 400 years that they ruled the Celtic lands, two festivals of Roman origin were combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. The first was, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce this correctly, Feralia, a day in late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a day The second was a day to The second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that is practiced today in Halloween. Alright, now some more history about All Saints' Day, which is also another place's Halloween. So, on May 13th, AD 609, Pope Boniface dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christians martyrs, and the Catholic feast of All Martyrs' Day was established in the Western Church. Pope Gregory III, we've heard that name once, later expanded the festival to include all saints as well as all martyrs, and moved the observance from May 13th to November 1st. By the 9th century, the influence of Christianity had spread into Celtic lands, where it gradually blended with a supplemented older Celtic rites. In AD 1000, the Church made November 2nd All Souls' Day, a day to honor the dead. It's widely believed today that the Church was attempting to replace the Celtic Festival of the Dead with a related church-sanctioned holiday. All Souls' Day was celebrated similar to Samhain, with big bonfires, parades, and dressing up in costumes as saints, angels, and devils. The All Saints' Day celebration was also called All Hallows or All Hallows Mass. And the night before it, the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion began to be called All Hallows Eve and eventually Halloween. Alright, here's some history on Halloween started in America. The celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England because of the rigid Protestant belief system there. Halloween was much more common. Mr. Bones, you're slacking. You're falling. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and southern colonies. As the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups, the American Indians meshed a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebrations included play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance, and sing. Colonial Halloween festivals also featured the telling of ghost stories and mischief making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivals were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween nationality. All right, so here is some history on how trick-or-treating started. Borrowing from the European traditions, Americans began to dress in costumes and go to houses asking for food or money, a practice that eventually became today's trick-or-treat tradition. Young women believed that on Halloween they could divine the name or appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yarn, apple parings, or mirrors. In the late 1800s, there was a move in America to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community and neighborly get-togethers than about ghost pranks and witchcraft. At the turn of this century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day. Parties focused on games, foods of the season, and festive costumes. Jesus, I am so sorry. I'm messing up my words today. I'm sorry, y'all. Parents were encouraged by newspapers and community leaders to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween celebrations. Because of these efforts, Halloween lost most of its superstitious and religious overtones. By the beginning of the 20th century, let's see if we can do that from here. Halloween parties. So here is the origin of some Halloween parties. So, get your face out of my face. By the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween had become a secular but community-centered holiday, with parades and town-wide Halloween parties as the efforts of many schools. Hold on, I can't do this from that far away. Okay. With parades and town-wide Halloween parties as they featured entertainment. Despite the best efforts of many schools and communities, vandalism begins to plague some celebrations in many communities during this time. By the 1950s, town leaders had successfully limited vandalism, and Halloween had evolved into a holiday directly mainly at the young. Due to the high numbers of young children during the 50s baby boom, parties moved from town civic centers into the classroom or home, where they could be more easily accommodated. By 1920s and between 1920s and 1950s, the centuries-old practice of trick-or-treating was also revived. Trick-or-treating was a relatively inexpensive way for an entire community to share the Halloween celebrations. In theory, families could prevent tricks being played on them by providing the neighborhood children with small treats. Thus, a new American tradition was born. I lost my spot. And it has continued to grow today. Americans spend an estimated of $6 billion annually on Halloween, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas.